the Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. We all know what happened at the deadline with the Tampa Bay Lightning basically giving up an entire draft class for Tanner Jeannot, who, let's be honest, played pretty shitty after the trade for the Lightning. If I remember correctly, he went 10 games without a shot. How does that happen? But that's a whole other thing. And well, outside of another depth move that meant basically nothing for the Lightning, where they traded Nemesnikov for a guy's name I can't even pronounce, the Leafs and Kyle Dubas went, holy crap. You and I were both like, I can't believe they're actually making all these moves. So let's go through that list real quick, shall we? They acquired Noel Acciari, Luke Shen, Eric Gustafson, Jake McCabe, Sam Lafferty, Ryan O'Reilly, Connor Timmins, and last offseason, Matt Murray.
Mm-hmm.
God damn. This still surprises me going through all those names. Now, a big thing that was a determining factor in my pick, the Lightning are coming off 3 straight Stanley Cup Finals appearances in which they won the former 2, not last year against Colorado. As we've seen in every single sport, long playoff runs in consecutive years, especially when it reaches 3 or 4 years, they will come back to bite you physically at one point. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing right now with the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I have a stat for you, Liam. The Tampa Bay Lightning, in their final 24 games, went 9-13-2. They basically went 9-15. Now, I understand that they've kind of just gritted their teeth through the regular season before and went on to win the whole thing. I don't see it this year. The Leafs are 18-7-3 in their final 28. Things seem to be clicking more than they were immediately after the deadline. There's a lot of people on their last chance here. But before I give my prediction, I'm going to let you have the floor for a second.
All right. Well, I agree with a lot of what you said. I will just play devil's advocate here and say that the Tampa Bay Lightning, in a lot of the years where they went to the Stanley Cup or had extended playoff runs, they did struggle to end the regular season. So this is nothing new, what you pointed out. So I just do want to preface, again, this conversation by pointing that out. But again, I think that the Maple Leafs made the better moves. I think that Tanner Jeannot was a little bit of a forced move, in my opinion, and it hasn't really paid dividends. I'm sorry, I hate to be the one to point it out, but Andrei Vasilevsky is not having a great season. Just saying. Again, I think the forward group and the defense, they go toe to toe with one another. I think that, this is a very, very good matchup and a very, very even matchup between these two teams on the back end and up front. But for the reasons that you mentioned, and the fact that at the trade deadline, Kyle Dubas went out and he acquired the big fish in Ryan O'Reilly, got the depth pieces that are going to help win a Stanley Cup in Noel Acciari and Jake McCabe. And who did they bring in from the bottom 6 as well from Chicago? Who am I missing?
Sam Lafferty.
Sam Lafferty as well. So I think that the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to win this series. And I don't even think it's going to go 7 games. I think they're going to win it in 6.
You and I have the same exact prediction.
There you
Leafs
go.
in 6. Great minds think alike, don't they?
Right on. Yes, they do.
Now the real question is going to become, how far do the Maple Leafs get? But I honestly do think that they're going to win this series. And I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if they win in 5.
I think it is a hot take because, again, just what the Tampa Bay Lightning have been able to do, especially in the playoffs over the last number of seasons. But I think that Toronto is clearly the better team, and this is their year. And let me tell you, if they don't pull it off, I'm worried. I'm worried about what the future might be in Toronto, unfortunately. So,
Yeah, that's going to be a whole thing to keep an eye on. But well, we're not there yet, so we can't talk about it yet. But I don't know. I just think the Leafs have it. Let's not forget last year. They were on the verge of winning the series in 6. And I think that, let's say the two teams were here last year.
Mhm.
For anyone watching on YouTube, I have my hands up demonstrating something. I think the Leafs went here and the Lightning went here.
Mhm.
That's why I wouldn't be surprised if they do win in 5.
I don't think it's a bad call at all. I think it's a little bit of a hot take, but I don't think it's a bad call, and I could see it happening as well. So
Now, imagine if they swept, the internet would lose their minds.
I think that the world, not just the internet, just the entire universe would just fall apart at that point. The Maple Leafs won around and swept the Tampa Bay Lightning. Oh my gosh.
Hey, I mean, both teams were kind of gritting their teeth by the end of the regular season because the matchup was set for what felt like months and the home ice was set for weeks. So, I mean, they weren't really playing for much, but I just think it's the Leafs' time to win around. And you forgot to unmute yourself.
And that one on mute happens once every single episode. But yeah, no. So I think that the Leafs are going to win this series, and I really hope that they do for Kyle Dubas' sake, for Austin Matthews' sake. And again, the Leafs are having a good season, and they made moves that should help you make a tangible difference in the postseason. And I think that they're going to do that this year, and it's going to come at the hands of the Tampa Bay Lightning. There have been a lot of glaring holes and red flags with this Lightning team all season, and I just don't think it's going to be enough. I don't think the Maple Leafs can beat themselves in this series to lose to the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Now, before we move on, I just want to point out some interesting stats. The Maple Leafs finished second on the power play during the year, while Tampa finished third. The penalty kill, they're only 3 apart also, with Tampa being 15th and the Leafs being 12th. The face-off percentage, Leafs were 4th while the Lightning were 11th. So even with, before I get to the goals for and goals against per game, this is still like 2 pretty even teams, but I don't know. I just have that gut feeling about the Leafs this year. So shockingly, with all the with all the Lightning struggles, they still finished ahead of the Leafs in goals for per game by 0.02, beating them out for 8th place, while the Leafs finished 9th. And goals against per game, the Leafs are better by about 0.4.
Yeah, no doubt that the stats are close, and no doubt that the depth is close as well. But again, I just think when you look at the trajectory of each team and how they've done up to this point in the season, that's where I would put them. So
Yeah. So Leafs in 6. And mainly I just want to see the Lightning lose early for once because I would get a little joy out of that, not gonna lie.
yeah, I would say Leafs in 6.